What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Vince's character in Scream 2022. That's right, I picked Vince, but I wanted to do this because I wanted to talk about his character, how they used him from like a promotional perspective leading into the movie, and if he was just kind of a waste of a character, waste of actually potential, or if it was kind of a genius move what they did, and just kind of, I don't really have an answer for that right now. I'm sure I'll talk myself into it as the video goes on, but definitely want to hear from you guys what you think about Vince in the comments below. Let me know, and let me know any other Scream videos you'd like to see as always. All right, so I really like Kyle Gallner, right? I hope that's how you say his, or Kyle Gallner, however you say his last name. He seems like a really awesome guy. I like him as an actor, and I think he did a really good job in the 4.5 seconds we saw him as Vince. No, I'm just kidding. It was longer than that. I did like what we saw. I did. I immediately thought, like, as soon as I saw his character in the movie, like, what's funny, though, is we already had seen every single thing he would have done, okay, in the movie that we saw him actually do. We already saw that behind the scenes. We saw him stalking Liv, like, near the school. We saw him in the bar, like, with the knife out. We saw him and we saw, like, the entire death scene, right? We had already seen all of those things, and I've said in live streams, I've said in other places as well, I do think, while the trailer does spoil, I think, very specific moments that's a problem, I do think there are actually several scenes in the trailer that the movie, because of the rest of the context, it's okay. Like, even the Tara stuff, I've said it before, Tara's opening scene was phenomenal. Like, I absolutely loved it. I don't think the trailer took away from it maybe there would have been a slight more, excitement for it if we didn't know at all. Because, you see the trailer and you're like, well, it doesn't look like she's going to die. And we had kind of heard that maybe they weren't going to do that. Also, it's Jenna Ortega. Plus, in the trailer, we see her in the wheelchair. So it's like, okay, well, she obviously survived. So there were already hints, right? For Vince, it wasn't exactly like that. But I did still have a feeling when I saw him in the movie where it's like, oh, cool. Like, the way he talks is kind of different, too. It's kind of like off-putting. It's like, I like this guy, and I want to see more. And it's like, well, can we at least get a longer death scene? Because as soon as he's outside, it's like, well, this is it, right? We assume. Or maybe he goes to the hospital, but most likely he's going to die here. I guess I do think it was very weird what they did with him. I'm not going to stand here and say there hasn't been throwaway characters in other movies. I think there's several of them in Scream 3. I think there's a couple of them in Scream 4. Scream 2, you look at Scream 2 and it's like, well, if you don't count the opening kills, right, then Scream 2 is kind of squeaky clean in terms of, like, everybody has a pretty darn good reason for being attacked or killed, or they're given enough time, like Cece, right? Scream 1, I mean, there's just not many kills in general in Scream 1, right? So there's kind of like this build-up. Again, Scream 3 and 4, I think, have a little bit more throwaway characters. I guess the point I'm making, right, to follow me through, I don't know if we've seen a character as throwaway-ish as Vince ever in Scream. And that's a subjective opinion, right? That's just my opinion. I don't know if we've seen that. I am leaning towards just a complete waste of a character because, well, it's tough because when I say waste, right, he's related to Stu. So you could say, well, clearly that was that like enough of a reason to make it worth it? Because you think about who died in this movie, right? And a couple of them don't actually, like, even Judy and Wes, it's like, well, they had made a point to say that those two, in a way, like, don't actually matter, right? Because they were created in, like, the sequels, like a fourth one, right? And it's like nobody really cared about that, which I like that. That was funny, right? That was kind of a self poke, right? And it's like, okay, well, even them. I would say, like, Judy obviously makes sense to kill, right? Being the sheriff and she's trained and she has a weapon. Like, it does make sense to take her out from if they're trying to accomplish a plan. Wes, obviously being her son, I guess he gets put in the crossfire, all of that stuff. So I guess in that way. But, you look at Vince and it's like, okay, well, why were you in the movie? I feel like you were in the movie just for an extra kill because they really, if you think about it, right? So they were trying to just give new source material for a movie, and it's like, well, killing Vince is just because he's related. He's the nephew of Stu. It's like, well, is that a good enough? What did he do? Is that a good enough reason to do it? And I know I'm focusing so much on that, but honestly, the reason I am focusing on that is that's the only thing we have, right? He talks one time. Now, the deleted scene, let's talk about a couple other things. The deleted scene helps. I actually like the deleted scene between Dewey and him. And if you notice, by the way, in that deleted scene, they still took stuff out from the script. Remember, the first draft of the script more leans into Dewey kind of being this drunk, alcoholic kind of guy. And if you notice in the deleted scene, that even the deleted scene, while it's close to the script, it's not even what the first script said. So I think they even toned it back even more. But I like it. I like that scene. I think it makes Vince a little bit, I don't know, more of like a presence, just like in general. You know what I mean? I don't think, like, it's silly because then you have the other deleted scene with like Judy interrogating Dewey, right? And it's like, it's silly to even imagine anybody, and she really wasn't, but like to kind of like, well, is it because Dewey is the one who killed Vince, right? Because again, you look at that first script, and that's another thing I want to talk about. I guess what I want to say is, in that first script, Vince does have a lot of the same lines, a lot of the same just not being in it very much, but his death scene is probably, again, this is kind of like a long assumption or a long reach, but it's one of the most different kills in the entire Scream franchise. It's kind of long, it's drawn out, but not in a bad way. You know what I mean? It's more of like a tension-filled thing. Remember, he's like in his car, he gets, I think, a flat tire, he gets out to kind of like fix it. The car like falls on his chest or something, like he gets like stabbed in the side multiple times. I mean, like there's like a lot. He thinks it's Dewey, like the entire time he thinks it's Dewey. So like there's a lot going on in that scene, and I don't know if it was like time constraints or budget constraints, but that would have been, it's tough. It's tough because he's like, well, he's the first kill of the movie, isn't he, right? So it's like, do you make it like special, or why did you do it like that? I don't know. He's barely in it. He's in 2 scenes, if you even count the scene where he's like smiling at Liv. Like, do you count that as a scene? He's there. He's at the bar in the base movie, right? Because I honestly, like, I want to count deleted scenes. And I mean, it's more footage of them, you know what I mean? So we can always watch it and stuff, but it doesn't count. It doesn't count in the base movie. So in the base movie, he's in 2 different scenes, or I guess 3, right? Then he goes outside and he dies. And it's like, it's so fast. And again, I think the trailer really hurt him because it's like, well, you literally showed his death. You didn't show him get stabbed in the neck, but you showed him get jolted, and you showed like blood come from his mouth. So like we assumed he got stabbed, right? And I think there's another scene where you do see, he has his hand on his neck. That's what I'm trying to think of. There is a scene in the trailer where he's got like his hand on his neck as he's falling. So it's like, okay, well, now we know he was stabbed in the neck. And I didn't think he would just die right there. And there's no, like, the weight, the gravity of his death doesn't affect anybody at all. And the one person who it would have impacted, Dewey, they cut that scene. And they cut the scene that I guess that makes sense, right? Probably the reason why they cut Judy and Dewey, even though it was like that was a good scene between the two of them, the reason they cut that, I would imagine, is because the main point of it is to show the relation between Vince and Dewey a second time, because we had already seen it the first time with them in the bar fighting. But the movie didn't show the bar fight, so it couldn't show the second one, you know, because the second one doesn't make sense to show unless you showed the first one. Does that make sense to you guys? So that's why, I don't know, just a side tangent why I think they deleted those. But both of those deleted scenes help Vince. They do, in the context of the movie. So I don't know. It's tough. I would definitely say he's one of the most thrown away characters. I don't even want to say, this is like the other option, right, that I put in the title even, right, like genius marketing. Well, the thing is this, they showed everything. They didn't have his post. That was a stupid move, I think, because it became, I think, very clear to everybody as we were getting close to the movie that Vince is one of, if not the most throwaway characters we've ever had in the franchise. And I'm not saying that again to diminish like the actor or anything like that, but when you have the trailer that's like, okay, well, maybe he doesn't die, right? Because it doesn't fully show him die, but he just gets stabbed in the neck, so obviously his odds aren't high. But okay, whatever, give it to him. And it's like, all right, well, are they going to pull something different? And then you notice, you're like, okay, well, he still doesn't have a last name. His name is just Vince. They're not giving him a last name. Then all of a sudden, they just gave him a last name in one of like the interviews, I think at that one convention. And it's like, okay, well, like, does that mean anything? Turns out, no. You know what I mean? Like, it really, they were just doing it. I don't want to say like they did it on purpose, but it feels like they had always intended for him to be honestly nothing, just a minor fun connection to Stu. And then because he's so mysterious, because he literally is a throwaway character, people like us, fans, some of us kind of latched onto that. And then from a marketing perspective, they're like, oh, shoot, like, well, we weren't expecting people to think anything of him. So, well, now do we lean into that mystery? So, all right, well, let's not put his name on, like, the poster. Let's not put his face on the poster. Let's not give him a poster, like a self-picture of where he's holding the mask like everybody else in the cast. So now it's like, okay, well, now we've trapped ourselves because now we're either saying he's so mysterious for whatever God unknown reason, right, that we don't want to put him in any promotional pictures. He wasn't at the red carpet, which is kind of actually a low blow, I would say, to him. He is in the movie. So it's like, all right, well, we're going to hide him literally from everything. And it's like, well, again, you've trapped yourself because you're now either saying he's so mysterious that we've kept him away because maybe we have a bigger role with him, or he literally is nothing. Like, we had him for a day on set. He filmed 2 scenes, and then he died. And it's like, that's it. And you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I feel like that was kind of a mistake. In fact, well, I feel like maybe the marketing and them maybe falling into, oh, well, maybe we can milk this, or maybe we can figure out a way to get people excited about this when really there is nothing to get excited to. I think that was a mistake, but I also think his character in general was probably a mistake. Like, it's a cool death, I guess. Very fast, very sudden. And it's like, maybe you don't expect that, right? Maybe that's the point, because it's like you haven't done anything with him yet, and then you kill him off immediately. Again, then you connect him to Stu. It's like, all right, cool. But I just think, like, you could have done, even without the scripts, right? You could have done more in general with him, or you could have done nothing at all. And the script, the first script, is like, I think, the best version of him. Because it's got the bar fight, it's got the Judy and Dewey stuff. So those 2 things, again, I do think help his character. And then his character, while I still think being very underdeveloped in general, which again could be the point, so it's fine. But the thing is, then the death was like 5 seconds long. Like, the death was so, it was, I don't know. Like, I do want to kind of say it was mediocre. Like, it was fast. It was like, it was violent, I guess, in a way of stabbing the throat and just being done. But I mean, like, I don't want to say boring, but it was definitely on the boring side of the death spectrum. And I have said it before, I don't really care about how deaths are in these movies too much, too much, maybe compared to like a massive horror fan, right? But at least the first script had a really cool, again, different, he thinks it's Dewey, he's underneath working on his car, he gets stabbed in the side. Like, it's a cool death that we've never seen before. So I think that is, and I guess what I'm saying is, if you did that, at least we could be talking about a cool death. Right now, when you talk about Vince, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? What is the standout thing with him? I guess it's like the low amount of time he was used on screen. That's the main thing. Whereas it could have at least been a cool death. That's my opinion. And yeah, I have nothing against it. I think it was I guess it was a good try. It was a cool idea. It just didn't exactly pan out, and that's fine. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. All my social media, as always, if you guys want to check it out, is in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.